Today I'm talking about taking some action or doing something that has you feel the progress towards your bolder, bigger dream. And one reason I focus on that is because whatever we're going to do, we're going to put energy into it. So you can put energy into something small, medium, or bold, right? It's really a choice. And there are times that call for different measures and different ranges of experience. But let's talk about those bigger goals that we desire, those achievements or experiences that take us out of our ordinary world. Like, what is that, and what is it going to take that's different from typical goals and desires? Well, first of all, welcome to this video, and here I talk about how to really get beyond ourselves and use experiences like manifestation, as well as, really practical approaches that might be very business oriented, for example, when you are growing a business, when you are creating, but going into things that like bring all of these elements together. And sometimes, yes, even like science, the idea of the heart and brain coherence. So those are the kind of things I like to talk about. And so today, I'm saying, like, what is going to have you feel some progress? Because honestly, most of us love that feeling of progress, right? And we get frustrated when we have been, say, doing a lot of work or making a lot of efforts in whatever manner, and then feel like nothing's actually changed on the surface. And sometimes there's reasons for that. Like, sometimes things are going on behind the scenes, or we're going through a lot of inner work that's creating change, but it just hasn't rippled out into our 3D reality. But what about progress? What about just feeling it? Well, first of all, the way I described it provides a clue in itself. There is a feeling to progress, right? And what that means is you can capitalize on that by actually tapping into that feeling before you've actually done anything, right? Like, what does progress feel like? Like, sometimes I ask my clients questions like, what would it feel like right now if you knew you were already like 10 steps ahead? You were already at that stage instead of this, what feels like a really early stage. And often, like, immediately they begin, getting excited, getting passionate, and then telling me what's next or what it would feel like. And in other words, nothing has actually changed on the surface. They haven't actually taken those 10 steps or whatever they might think is required, but they began changing how they feel and how they think. And right away, that means that they're already tapped into their progress. They already have a sensation of what that is like. And so what you can actually do is kind of immerse yourself in that experience. Like, literally just sit down or lie down and just feel it. Like, what would it feel like if I was already like 10 steps ahead? And kind of like give your body that juice, right? Give your body that joy and receive it and feel yourself receiving it, right? Because right now what's happened is that you have kind of leapt forward within yourself, within your nervous system. You're getting used to this idea of this new experience or new level. And from there, guess what? Ideas will arrive. Ideas or experiences do arrive because we are now actually open and we have expanded beyond where we were, which is often a very contracted state, especially when we have days when we're extremely focused on getting things done or very much in the analytical brain, right? Those beta brain waves, that's where it's like, we can't think about what's possible. We don't think about what's actually available. We don't go into the infinite options that are actually in existence all the time. And so moving into this new state of progress, what would that feel like? May give us the next idea. It could be a tiny step. May just give us joy to get a whole bunch of work done that we were, procrastinating on. Because now we know we're going somewhere, And the mind likes that, and the body likes that too. So instead of waiting for things to happen and the circumstances to change and the results to show up before you can experience progress, begin giving that to yourself. And you can do that throughout the day. You can do it first thing in the morning, like really just kind of electrify yourself with that idea and energy, and then see what kind of ideas pop up next for you to do. It may be something like totally outside what you thought you were going to spend your day on. And, if you can do that, then I would say it's probably telling you something. It's probably telling you to go do this action, because guess what? You're just going to be closer to this bolder idea and dream that you have, that you're already lit up by. Right? So get resourceful, get creative, and sometimes it's just that tiny step we can take, right? And not the whole giant one, but that's okay, because what you're doing is you're telling yourself that you are in motion, you are in momentum. You're bringing that to the experience instead of waiting and being passive and expecting something to come to you first. And this really does change so many things. It builds your self-esteem, right? That's just something we as humans kind of require. Like we want these little dopamine hits to say, hey, yeah, we're on track. And we don't want to fill our life with only that. But once in a while, to do that so that you do feel that progress, you do feel change, you can really acknowledge yourself for where you are. That's actually really different from where you were, maybe 2 months ago or a year ago or 10 years ago. And giving yourself that boost can make a lot of difference. And it gives you more energy and it gets you closer. Because what's the alternative? That you beat yourself up, that you force yourself to do all these actions that feel heavy, right? All of that just slows things down. It really does. And yet it can be kind of like a habit that we all tend to do. So these ideas that I'm offering you are ways to kind of shift into new states of being so that you do end up doing the things that you say you're going to do. You do end up feeling that sense of fulfillment that you're on your way, and you're just, again, like you're enjoying the process, you're enjoying the journey, and you get to kind of receive the energy of that progress first, and then you get to create in it, right? It's just like imagine you're in a workplace and somebody comes in all excited that day to work on that project that everybody, knows that there's a strict deadline, and that one person comes in all like excited and energized versus a person who's really dragging their heels, they're complaining, they're whining, they're telling you all the reasons that it won't get done by the deadline. Like who do you want to hang out with, right? Like where do you want to put your energy? Because that's a choice, and you can be that person, and it doesn't matter what anybody around you thinks. I have worked in companies where I've worked with large groups to create change, and had people around me like complaining and trying to slow things down and basically tell me it's not going to work, and I just stayed within my vibration and the intention that was there, and the idea of accomplishing. I didn't know exactly how it would happen. I didn't know how people would react in the end, but I chose to stay with where we were going. And slowly and surely, people began to release their resistance and came on board. And I remember in one particular project, the results were just, blew me away. I really didn't expect that things would change that dramatically, but they did, right? So sometimes it's us who has to really stay on that path, regardless of what anybody around us is doing or saying, thinking, or feeling. Right? Because if you want bold dreams, if you want the higher stuff, you got to go for it. You got to stand out. You can't do the norm. That's not the way it works, right? And if you want the norm, great, go for that. But this channel isn't about that. It's about having fulfillment and joy and going and expanding beyond what you think is possible. And in terms of, who am I to say all these things? Well, first of all, I am always looking at this vantage point, and what's always excited me. So it's kind of like my way of being. But, I've traveled and worked overseas. I have had a business for many years. I live in a beautiful place, just steps from the ocean, mountains in the background. Like, there's a lot of things that I've created because I really chose to have a certain kind of lifestyle that lit me up. And yes, I've taken risks and some things haven't worked out, and I've had losses at times as well. But what I've learned is like, how quickly can I get up? How quickly can I change and move forward again? And also it's shown me how resilient I've been and can be and can keep moving forward. And the most important through all of this is it shows me how much more is actually possible. If I did those things in the past, sometimes with very little so-called resources or a network and everything, what could I do now? What could I do today with this information and this continued passion that I have? And there's like tons of wonderful content that we have access to on things like YouTube, right? And so with all that, what else becomes possible? So I invite you to look at these ways that you can really shift your energy, and share in the comments, like, is there some new step that you've taken recently? Whether it was just a shift in energy or a physical action, perhaps there's a new result. Because the more we share this information, the more it energizes everything, right? Now, this channel is very new, and I don't know how much time it'll take for it to grow, but as it does, and as I begin to see more people contributing through their comments and experiences, I'll be able to hone in and create more videos that perhaps like speak more directly to what some of your questions might be, some of the goals that you're trying to create out there. And basically have a lot of fun. And if you'd like to work with me, like perhaps just have a session, and there may be a place that you're like, what, I'd really like the next couple of weeks like to make that shift, and I feel like I've perhaps been stuck somewhere and I'd like to go beyond that. Could you like support me in that? There's a link below. I also have a book that I completed recently called Cast a New Trajectory, and they're real life stories of people I've worked with to show how amazing goals got achieved, and how they changed their life, how they grew their businesses, how they landed new opportunities that days before they were telling me were impossible, and all through a very conscious, guided, transformational approach. So you can also access that in the link below. But this week, what can you do? What can you do today, right? And instead of just sitting down and thinking through the analytical mind, relax, do what I just talked about at the beginning of this video. Move into a sensation of progress. And when you move into that sensation, see what comes up. You may get an answer right away, or it may show up tomorrow, who knows, right? But just keep doing that, keep expanding that. I actually did that. I had an unexpected expense, not unexpected, sorry, a big expense show up, and I wasn't totally available or at that time to handle it the way I thought I was going to. And so then initially, honestly, I went into a bit of stress because it was like, oh, I didn't expect to be there in that situation. But then I did exactly what I've told you. Like, I expanded into a sensation of open. There are infinite possibilities. What am I not seeing, right? What have I forgotten, perhaps? What else is possible and available and can happen? And it was amazing. Like, within, I don't know, it was like 20 minutes, suddenly I remembered something. I was able to access funds in a way that I had kind of forgotten about, honestly, and I didn't even know like how easily or quickly that would be possible. And I was able to do it within the next hour, and suddenly I was back into ease and relaxation. So we can do this at any time. Sometimes it's not easy. That's okay. The process does work, right? Use it. Move into that sensation of progress. Where could that take you today?